Thank you for joining us live on our new Facebook Live event. New year, new stress test. Are you ready? My name is Ailisha, and I'm pleased to be your host. We're going to take a moment to introduce our three panel of experts. We're going to start with Jared Dreyer, accredited mortgage professional with Dreyer Group Mortgages and Verico Financial with over 25 years experience in the mortgage broker industry. Welcome, Jared. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for watching.
Then we have Erica Ma with First National. She's an account manager and has been with First National for 8 years in the lending industry for a total of 15. Thank you for joining us this morning, Erica.
Thanks so much for having me here.
Thank you. And then Randy Cooper, real estate professional with Home Life Benchmark and Cooper Real Estate Team with over 20 years in the industry. Welcome, Randy. Thank you.
Thanks, Alicia.
If you are a Canadian who is looking to purchase a home or refinance your mortgage, then you will want to listen to the insights of these experts. This event will last 30 minutes. At the end, I will give instructions on how you can obtain a recorded copy.
Great.
Jared, let's begin with you.
Excellent.
So for those of us who don't know, could you please explain what a stress test is and more specifically, what changes are going to be implemented after January 1st?
Yeah. Well, we have had a stress test in place for quite some time, and it's been for basically if you've put down less than 20% of a purchase price, there has been a stress test involved. And what that has required is you had to qualify based on the Bank of Canada qualifying rate, which is currently 4.99%. So no matter what term you took, you would qualify at the 4.99% rate, and that would be the maximum qualifications you can have. What is changing as of January 1st is basically every mortgage in Canada, no matter what type of down payment you're putting down now, if you're putting down more than 20% of the purchase price, you will have to qualify at 2% above whatever your market rate is. So if you're getting a mortgage at say 3% right now, you'll have to qualify at a 5% interest rate for that. And that is a requirement for any type of mortgage that you're putting for a down payment. There are definitely still two separate sets of rules. So if you're putting down less than 20%, you go to the Bank of Canada qualifying rate. But if you're putting more than 20% down, you go to the stress test rate. Why the government decided to have two sets of rules on that, we're not quite sure. It probably should be combined into one set of rules, which makes more sense for everybody. But at this point in juncture, that is the way the government has aligned it out. The other major thing that about the new rules coming out here is actually for consumers, which is very important, is that if you're trying to transfer your mortgage now, so if your mortgage is up for renewal, you will have to go through the 2% qualifying if you want to transfer to another institution to obtain better terms and conditions or a better interest rate. You will have to go through that same stress test. If you're with your existing financial institution, you do not have to go through that same stress test. So that's one of the reasons we're very important here, that you make sure we get all the information to make sure that you can, qualify if you're doing a renewal transfer, and of course any purchases that happen as well as at the same time as well.
Okay. Thank you, Jared. This morning we're talking about the impact of the new stress test for mortgages in Canada. Randy, since you are such an expert in the real estate industry, have you noticed any impact in the real estate market since the rule changes were announced?
Since the announcements, there's been kind of two different reactions. The more affordable end of the market, the buyers have been scrambling, trying to find a property before the rule changes by the end of the year. Also, on the other end, on the detached end, there seems to be more of a wait-and-see attitude, where the buyers are kind of I think anticipating the prices may correct slightly. So they're kind of holding off and just waiting to see what's going to happen. And other than that, the numbers have been fairly consistent. Detached home sales, for instance, for White Rock, South Surrey, the sales to listing ratio has been running 9 to 10% every month. So 9 or 10 of every 100 homes for sale have been selling, and attached has been really hot. It's been 48%. So it's that's been fairly consistent. That's been the main changes, though, the two different buyers and how they're approaching it.
Okay. Erica, if an application was submitted before January 1st, so those who are just in the process, however, it doesn't complete until after the new year, will clients have to qualify under the new rules?
So that's a really good question, and we've been getting tons of those types of questions. And just so you guys know, we're actually still waiting for clarification on our end. anytime there's these major announcement changes coming from the government, especially when it's mortgage related, there's so many unanswered questions. And so right now our head office is consulting with all three insurers. And we want to make sure that we have all the answers before we make our final announcements. I know some of the lenders out there have made some announcements, and they are saying that any applications that are submitted prior to January and don't complete until after January, they're still going to be able to qualify under the old rules. Now, there may be some situations where, for example, if that completion falls outside the 120-day commitment period, or if there's major changes to the property or changes to the borrower, then those files could be in effect to having to qualify under the new rules. We were just talking about earlier about pre-sales contracts. I know that there's a lot of pre-sales going on in this lower mainland here. Again, we're still waiting for clarifications on that. But those clients could still be able to qualify under the old rules regardless of when the completion date is.
Okay, so what about rate holds or files that were pre-approved?
Again, we're still waiting for clarifications on that. There are lenders out there that have made announcements saying that they will still honor pre-approvals that are, as long as that pre-approval is, as long as that file is completed within the pre-approval date of the initial application. Standard pre-approval is usually 120 days. So if that file is completed within the 120 days, then they can still qualify under the old rules. If for whatever reason that file is completed outside the 120 days, then they could be subject of having to qualify with the new rules.
I think a good point on that, just to jump in there on what Erica was saying, is that each lender does have its own set of rules and policies. So it's very important for you, the consumer, to make sure that when you're working with your mortgage professional, that you are getting something in writing as to what that lender policy is going to be going forward here, because each lender will make their own set of rules and lenders as applicable to the stress test and qualifications on that part.
Yeah, thanks for that. And that's one thing too. Like, we may be following, but we may not be. But we're still waiting for the clarifications on those.
In the first 3 months of the year, we often see a lot of refinancing. Do you predict the same to be for 2018?
I think there is definitely. We always have to see, in the first 90 to 120 days, there is a tremendous amount of refinancing. And people refinance for various types of reasons at all times. Again, we'll have to see what the impact of this new stress test is going to have on refinances. Again, the stress test is something that has never been implemented in Canadian mortgage history before. So we've never had this happen where if you have more than 20% purchase down, you had to go through a stress test. So I think we are kind of all in uncharted waters to see what the reaction is going to be. But I have been known from having this industry for over 25 years that, mortgage lenders, mortgage professionals, the consumer, we're all realtors, we're all very resilient. And I think we're all going to look for how opportunities to adjust to it. And I think that's all it is. I think there's going to be an adjustment period. But again, real estate is always a very solid investment, especially in Canada. And I think, we'll just adjust in a 90, 120-day period. And I think we'll be adjust to what the new rules are.
Thank you. Randy, moving forward, what is your forecast for the real estate industry after these changes are implemented?
I think the trends that we see right now will probably continue, and the attached market, condos and townhouses, will remain hot, and especially because of the affordability factor. The detached is probably going to continue the same way as well, and perhaps struggle a little bit. But like Jared said, at the end of the day, it'll all balance out, and people will adjust, and we'll just adjust the way we do business, and it's going to be even more critical, like Jared said, to use a good mortgage professional to help navigate through the changes. The one wild card coming up is the provincial budget in February, so we're not really sure how that's going to impact things. And I think once after that we have more clarity, because the market doesn't like uncertainty. Then once that's clarified, then we'll move forward, and everything will be just fine. And BC REA has now predicting, they just came out with their forecast for 2018, and they're predicting detached home sales to drop by about 10%, but they're actually predicting house prices to go up a little bit, which I don't know if that's going to happen, but detached house sales will probably drop a bit, and attached will stay strong.
Okay. Erica, with all the changes that we've seen up until this point and the changes that are going to continue happening, do you feel there will be a negative impact in the mortgage broker industry or for lenders like First National?
In my opinion, no. I mean, I think, we've been around
Yep.
for numerous years, and with First National, we've been around for 30 years, and we've seen all types of changes, and Jared said it just perfectly. We're resilient to these types of changes, and I think with these changes, we're just gonna adapt and just gonna be able to continue business as usual. I think there's gonna be plenty of options out there. I know with First National and some of the lenders, I think we're going to be coming with some new programs, new products in the new year that are going to help clients qualify with the mortgage with us, where they might not be able to qualify with the new rule changes. And I think there's going to be similar lenders in the same boat that's going to be coming out with some new stuff. So looking forward to it. Yeah.
Absolutely, sounds great. Randy, what is your opinion about the government involvement in the industry as of late?
Well, they've obviously got involved for a reason. The bank account latest report just came out, and they commented on the high household debt, and especially in Vancouver market in Toronto. And unfortunately, sometimes there's some unintended consequences when they do make changes. But at the end of the day, we've all been around a long time, and everybody adjusts, and it's not the end of the world. And I think we'll just be back to business as usual. But obviously, there's a reason why they've made those changes, and we just adjust.
Okay, thank you. So for those who are joining us today, we've been discussing the impact of the new stress test in Canada with 3 industry experts, Jared Dreyer, Erica Ma, and Randy Cooper. Now, we're almost out of time, but before we wrap things up, we're going to take a brief moment to recap. Let's start with Erica. Do you have any final thoughts or advice you would give our audience in response to the new mortgage stress test?
Well, my advice is don't listen to what's being said in the media. Obviously, there's a lot of misconceptions out there, and reach out to one of us if you have any questions. And as we mentioned, this sounds like there's going to be options. We're pretty optimistic here, and reach out to your local buyer to discuss what options are available for you guys.
Thank you, Erica. Randy, is there any key takeaway points you would provide Canadians out there about this new mortgage rule and the effects it will have on home buyers?
Like I said, at the end of the day, it's I think it's gonna be business as usual. Just make a few adjustments, and if you have the proper help with a good professional realtor and mortgage broker, it makes all the difference, and they can help navigate through all those changes. But I think going forward, there'll always be a few bumps along the road, and we've had them in the past, and everything's just been fine. So it's just a slight adjustment.
Thank you. Jared, do you have any final thoughts or advice you could share with our audience this morning?
I think going forward, yeah, definitely. I think going forward, what you want to be doing for our audience here today is you got to make sure you're working with professional people in all you're doing. Make sure you do diligence, do your research. Make sure you're working with a professional realtor. Make sure you're working with a professional lawyer. Make sure you're working with a professional mortgage broker, someone that has the experience, the background, the history for you, because you are going to have potentially where you're going to have times where they have to guide you through maybe various lenders, various different options. It is a new mortgage marketplace world that is going to be happening, that has been happening, and it's constantly changing. And I think if you need to be dealing with someone who can give you multiple options and who has an ability to shop to multiple options for you. And I think that's going to be very critical as we head into January 1st, after January 1st already on that part. So that would be my advice for them.
Thank you. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you to each of our panel members and to everyone joining us this morning. If you have any friends or family that were unable to watch our live event, please visit www.dreyergroup.ca for your recorded copy. Again, that's www.dreyergroup.ca for your recorded copy. Thank you.